Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Story Behind the Stories. This is for the August 5th edition of the Neepawa Banner Press. I'm your host today, Casper, Wehrhahn, writer, photographer, and archivist for the Neepawa Banner Press. And I'm here again today with Kira. Kira, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for being here too.
And we actually start off right on the front page with a bunch of your photos, Kira, and I believe you put this together. You'll have to pick up a hard copy of the paper to get a really good look at this and the action that's going on. But wonderful job on that, Kira. This was all taking place in McCrory for the Agricultural Society hosting their Heartland Rodeo, right?
Yeah, so from what I understand, the Heartland Rodeo Association is a group that kind of organizes rodeos throughout Manitoba. So they were invited to McCrory to have one of their rodeos there. I believe that McCrory had their chuck wagon chariot races a couple weeks ago too, and we actually missed that. We weren't aware of when that was happening, so we missed that. But I was glad that I was able to find out about the rodeo and their bit of a fair that they had up there this past weekend, because we don't get to go up there super often. Like, we go for the Maple Syrup Festival, and then typically the chariot and chuck wagon races we'll try to get to. But yeah, like, there's things that happen up there that we try to cover, but we don't always hear about things up that way, because it's about, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes away from Neepawa. And they don't always think to contact us because, you know, we're a ways away. But yeah, I was able to get up there this weekend, take some pictures. They had lots of kids' activities in addition to the rodeo. They had a little train that was getting driven around by a lawnmower, I think it was, and they had a petting zoo, and they had face painting and lots of games for the kids to play. They had a sprinkler out there because it was a hot day on the Saturday, so they had a sprinkler out there, and there was some kids that just stayed in that sprinkler, and they were just having the blast because it was so warm. They were happy to have that bit of relief. There was mini donuts and ice cream, and of course, obviously, the bucking bronchos, the bull riding, there was calf roping, there was other stuff that I don't think I saw because I wasn't there for a super long time, but yeah, it looked like a lot of fun, and I was glad that I was able to get up there, and I was glad that I was able to get some of these pictures. I really enjoyed a few of them when I looked at. There's one of the small ones actually that I really like. I don't know, I have a slightly bigger version here. I don't know if you can see that, but there's this little kid in the cutout of the cowboy, and he's just got his little baby head in there, and he's sticking his tongue out. It is just the cutest thing. You have to pick up a paper to see that because I had to get that picture in the paper. But yeah, it looked like it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed the bits of it that I saw too. Got to pet a llama and a donkey and a goat, and, you know, all those fun things. I almost bought some mini donuts, but then I decided it was better for my health if I didn't. But
You can have a couple. It'll be fine,
right? They were selling them in these big buckets, and I was so tempted to buy a big bucket. Ooh. But I was like, I should not eat all of those myself. I shouldn't even tempt myself with that. So I didn't end up getting any, but I could smell it, and I enjoyed the smell.
I don't blame you. I imagine I'd probably get one and be like, yeah, I'll just have some, and like, I'll save the rest for later, and then just end up eating all of them.
Yes, and then sort of regretting it, but also not, because it's totally worth it.
Yeah, those are my favorite.
They're so good.
They're so good, and I've always liked powdered donuts. I don't know why. They're so messy, but they're just so tasty.
These are the ones with the cinnamon sugar on them.
Okay. Yeah, those are really good.
Yeah. But yeah, so I was glad that we were able to cover that and get it on the front page. We had a little bit of fun with the front page, doing a bit of a collage. We've done that the last few weeks, I think, or at least a few of the weeks in the last month. Owen decided that we should try and get a little bit creative while Ken was away so that he couldn't veto our decision. So we've had a little bit of fun with colored backgrounds and all that kind of thing. So I don't know if you've noticed that trend, but
it's been a nice little experiment, and I do think it's been turning out well, and it's sort of been helping change things up a little bit, and bringing some fresh life to the front page.
Exactly.
All right. Well, We have some other big developments here that are sort of upcoming still, but perhaps some people have noticed while they've been out and about taking compost to the compost site. But there has been an announcement recently. If you read Town Council last week, which I don't blame you if you didn't, because Council is very dry. Important information in there, but very dry. So I don't blame you if you sort of like passed over it, or your eyes sort of like glazed over as you were reading and you didn't actually read the words. But we took that announcement from last week, and I got in contact with some of the board members from the Neepawa Area Dog Park Association, and got a bit more information on the dog park and sort of when we can roughly expect that to...
Sorry.
Pun was not intended, but thank you for catching that. That's good.
Sorry, go on.
No, you're fine. But about when we can expect that to open up. So I actually met with them, I believe that was July 27th, somewhere around there. It was earlier last week, I believe, after we sent that week's paper to print. So yeah, it's located right down near the compost site. If you turn to go into the compost, it'll actually just be right on the left there. A fairly decent size, I think, just for like sort of like a starting location. It'd be awesome to see if it can get expanded in the future, but it's a really nice sort of stepping block, I think, to get started there, because I know this is something that people have been wanting for a while. A nice sort of off-leash location they can take their dogs to for some outdoors time that, some different scenery that's not their backyard, and perhaps is maybe even a little bit bigger, depending what they have for a living space. But it is called the Bark 40. They wanted to sort of match the High Life Back 40, even though it doesn't have a official tie with that area. But just sort of to have a nice fun play on words there, and sort of match the nearby location. And the usage was granted by the town, so it's not owned by the group, but they do have that deal with the town. And fencing actually went up like a day or two right before I met with them to take some photos there. So they were, as I was meeting them, we're all amazed that the fencing was up, and the gates were almost ready to be put in as well. They were working on fastening the gating there, or the fencing there, just to make sure that it is secure. So once people are actually in and using the park, there won't be any wobbling. It'll be all nice and tight, the chain link. And I did mention before that this has been a long time coming. The group was actually initially started Cura in 2014.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so they've been doing fundraising since then, roughly, and taking a break for a while after some board members moved away from Neepawa. But after getting some new board members, they sort of just been kept going, and
I just remember when we read the report, the council report, being shocked that it was like the last week of July that we had the council report in, and it said, oh yeah, the new dog park might be ready by the beginning of August. Like, wait, what? They were working on that again? Like, we didn't even know. It kind of flew under the radar that they had started up again, didn't it?
Yeah. Because I do feel like I remember seeing stuff for this initially back before I was even working at the paper. And I was just like, oh, huh, I wonder what's going on with that. A while after hearing about it, and sort of got thinking about it again. And then, we heard about this. So I was just like, wow, okay, stuff has been going on. But they don't have a exact date for the opening yet. Unfortunately, they want to make sure that the park is completely ready before it opens. So we're going to be watching out for an announcement on that, and everyone in the community is welcome to as well by watching their social media. They do have a social media page. But it's got a large space there, sort of a common usage area, but it does have a smaller space enclosed inside that area dedicated to smaller dogs. So if you're perhaps a little bit worried for one reason or another, or just want to have your own little dedicated space for your small pup there, you can go in there and spend some time with them. And it sounds like as well that they are going to be, once the park is completed, going to be working on some more fundraising to perhaps add a couple extra things and sort of improve upon it in the future. So yeah.
No, it's nice that they're not just fundraising to get the fencing and then it's fenced, it's done, and just leave it alone. It's nice that they're wanting to continue to add things to it, to improve it, to maintain it, and to make it better and better for the puppies of Neepawa.
Yeah, and that's sort of something that they talked a bit about more when I was there too. They really stressed that they didn't want to keep fundraising until the park was ready, because it just wouldn't feel right to them to keep on going fundraising and not have the park even ready. So so that should be going soon, and it'll be ready for use, so that's exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There was some more celebrating, as I'm sure dog owners are celebrating right now, but celebration of a different kind here by a local church. We can find that on page 7 here. Now this group bought the church at the corner lights there in, 2014? No, not 2014, just a couple years ago. I know the year is there somewhere, but I can't find it off the top of my head. Oh, no, I don't see it. No, but that's okay. Just a couple years ago.
It might have even been last year. I don't remember.
Yeah, last year or the year before. For some reason, my brain pulled the year from the dog story, but that isn't correct. But yeah, just a year or two ago, they bought the church at those corner lights there.
Used to be the Anglican church.
Yeah, it used to be the Anglican church.
Was it Mountain and Maine, I guess?
Yeah, Mountain and Maine. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, for the Church of Christ was celebrating its anniversary, coinciding with the celebrations going on over in the Philippines, which is held every year on July 27th. Here, of course, it was held on the 26th just because of the time differences, so they wanted to match it up between the days, so it was sort of being held at the same time. And I believe it's their 108th year since the church was founded there, because it was founded back in 1914, so it's been around for quite a while. And they just sort of got their own parish here a year or two ago, and have been looking forward to using it more, because of course it was purchased during the pandemic when restrictions were a bit tighter. So they were really looking forward to using it more, and they did get to use it for that day. So that was pretty awesome for them to be able to do that. But yeah, they held a parade. They all got together, and it looks like they had a great time, Kira.
Yeah, we unfortunately didn't have any pictures of the parade because we were all in the office working on the paper, and they said they were going to walk by at a certain time. And so Owen grabbed a camera, went outside to see when they were walking by, and tried to take pictures, and the camera just wouldn't take a picture. So the whole group had already passed by, and the camera still wasn't cooperating with him. So we missed the parade, but there was still lots to take pictures of, lots to take in. I drove by there as I was leaving town that evening, and there was lots of people outside the church building. They had balloons and streamers and all of the colors of, I think of the Filipino flag, but also of the colors of the Church of Christ. And yeah, so it was quite the spectacle to behold as I was driving by. It looked like it was a lot of fun there. And Owen thankfully was able to get over there and take some pictures of that part of it, because we unfortunately missed the parade, but what can you do?
You know, stuff like that happens. And I know we were like all ready. We were all, or I guess Owen specifically, he was ready to go. I don't remember what I was working on at the time, but I know I was upstairs. And he went and he peeked out a couple times, just like, oh yeah, they're too far away still. And then they finally got up there, and just the camera wasn't cooperating, and
he was
such a shame.
Mad.
Yeah.
He came back, he's like, this stupid camera.
The perfect shot was right there. And the equipment just didn't want to cooperate. Of course, as soon as you're inside and you don't have anything to actually take a picture of, you're able to take a picture right away.
Yeah.
Like,
the camera worked a minute later, but it just didn't work at the moment you wanted it to work.
Yep. Oh my gosh.
Actually, that was the camera that I used to take the front page pictures this week. So I don't know if it was the user. Don't tell Owen I said that.
It was being temperamental, you know.
It just didn't like him specifically.
Yeah. It favors you. You're the favorite person.
Obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't blame it.
But yeah, they also brought attention to some of their humanitarian aid there, so all that information is also on that page. And there is a lot of good being done somewhere else in our area. We can find that on page 10 with the Dream Ride. This is the 3rd annual Dream Ride, Kira. And would you like to take us over the details on this?
Sure. So John Drinkwater, one of our staff members, he likes to go up to Clear Lake on an old area. He sells ads there, he takes pictures there, and that's where this was happening. This happened to be going on, so he was able to cover this event. But the Dream Ride is basically, I believe the organization is called the Dream Factory, and it's for a Westman specific organization to basically grant dreams to kids with illnesses. And so every year for the past few years, Gary and Marcia Forg have been organizing a bike ride up in the Clear Lake area and fundraising through that, and everybody who takes part in it gets pledges and collects money, and they make a bunch of money to help grant some dreams for some kids. And this year the 2 kids were Rainey, a 13-year-old boy, and Maya, who is a 4-year-old, I believe, girl. And they've been battling some illnesses, have to go to the hospital all the time for what they're dealing with and that kind of thing. And both of them actually kind of had said that one of their dreams is to go to Disney World or Disneyland. I'm not sure which. Yeah, so they wanted to go, both of them wanted to go to Disney World or Land. And so the Dream Ride fundraiser is going to help them achieve this. They actually they had a goal to raise $35,000 this year for the 2 kids, but they actually raised just over $41,433.41 to be exact. Not sure who donated 41 cents, but but yeah, so there was quite a few. I can't remember the exact number of how many were involved in the biking, but there was probably a couple dozen people. They had 2 different teams biking. There was an e-bike team that for lazy people like me that don't like to pedal all the time. They had e-bikes, they had a walking team, and then they had a regular biking team. And I think there might have been a couple different lengths depending on who was comfortable with how long they biked. And yeah, so it was another successful year. Every year it seems to go over really well, and it's really awesome to see Gary and Marcia putting this effort in to help these kids make their dreams come true, and all of the people that support it and all of the riders involved in it to get involved and to put in that effort to fundraise and to just make $40,000. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's I'm glad that this has sort of been able to take off in the past few years and you know, get this much attention. Things like this are always amazing, of course, whether it's you know, fundraising to you know, help families pay for treatments, or but I think especially something like this because it gives them something a bit extra. It gives them something fun to do with their kid. And, sort of take focus a bit away from, all the other stuff that you have to deal with, whether it's, cancer treatments or in one of the kids' specific cases, a hereditary bone condition, which, of course, made for a lot of hospital trips. I think just because of some bone fragility by the sounds of it. It didn't really, it did specify there. I'm just not familiar with the disease. I see the name right here. It's a Ollier disease. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but it looks like it's roughly the correct pronunciation based on how the name is spelt there. But I imagine someone a little more knowledgeable on the disease knows exactly what all that's about. But yeah, it's just awesome to see this continuing to go strong.
And I thought it was kind of funny, on the same page we also have the advertisement for Dairy Queen's Miracle Treat Day, which is the same kind of idea. They sell blizzards and the money goes towards making some miracles happen for kids to make their dreams come true that have been struggling with diseases as well. So I thought that was kind of a good placement there, besides like, oh, well, you missed the dream ride, but you can still help kids' dreams come true this way.
yeah, the ad placement really sort of worked out for us. I know the dream ride was on there originally, and then I think we had one of these ads or a different ad come in, so we had to shuffle some things around. So we ended up having Miracle Treat Day right on the top there. And so hopefully that as well will get some good attention. It typically does actually get quite a lot. So I'll be looking forward to seeing how we do again this year. And
yeah, I mean, it's not like I want to favor one charity over another, but I mean, riding a bike versus eating ice cream, one kind of outweighs the other for me.
Both very good,
yes,
but one of them is very tasty.
One of them is a little more enjoyable for me personally. I tried to get into the bike thing. It's not, I'm not that coordinated, so we'll say that.
No, that's fair. I actually haven't been biking in quite a while myself. I should really bust out my bike and make sure the tires are full of air and take it out sometime. As long as the weather isn't too hot, I'd probably keel over.
Yeah, it's been a little warm lately for that.
Yeah, too warm lately for that, but not too warm for some swimming, Kira. We have our water safety feature on the center spread here. So we have a few pictures there of lifeguards from the area, Neepawa, McCreary, Carberry, and Gladstone. So you can take a look on there and meet them, so to speak, see who all the faces are that are working at those pools. And we had a good sort of pull here for ads. We had a bunch of different advertisers, potentially some that we haven't had before, at least some that I don't recognize. What we don't normally get in the paper, so that was very nice to see. So definitely take a look at that. See all the photos, very nicely laid out there.
See, in your segue there, when you said, oh, not too hot for some swimming, I was thinking you were talking about the Blue Dolphins report. And I thought, oh, well, that's perfect that we have the Blue Dolphins report and water safety in the same feature. Like the Neepawa swim team had some updates from some of their meets. So that's in the paper too. And actually, probably some of the lifeguards that are in the picture, in the Neepawa picture, are probably the coaches for that. So you might be able to see some of those in the picture too.
Yeah, so definitely check both of those out. Again, the water safety is on 8 and 9. And Kira, do you recall the page number for the Blue Dolphins?
It's page 11.
Page 11. Oh, magnificent. All right. We have some more time still, just a few minutes. So we wanted to briefly mention, at the very least, and Owen specifically did really want us to mention this, some sportsing, not of the swimming variety, more of the on-ice kind. The Neepawa Titans hockey team here, they had their AGM recently, and the numbers have been looking kind of rough, Kira.
Yeah, you could say that, yeah.
just a little bit. Just a little bit. No, it is actually quite big. Sort of a spectacle. There's a lot of talk in the office about it. Of course, Owen has a lot more involvement with the team. Is a lot more into sports. Kira and I sort of not really. We've taken some photos, both of us, I believe, for a couple games here and there. Whenever Owen hasn't been able to cover, but some big figures. They've registered a financial loss for last season of $60,000, $516. I said that so weirdly. That threw me off. I started reading it and then I read the rest. It's like
wait. You were gonna round it down and then you decided to tell the rest of the number.
Yeah, hello. But overall, long-term debt with that figure in consideration, that brings it to just under $300,000. So it's quite a big figure. And you and I were talking just before the show. We're not quite sure how other teams fare, but you mentioned one team sort of near us made money.
Yeah, Swan Valley. This was one Owen had been talking about. He said, well, the markets could be considered fairly similar. Swan Valley is a little bit smaller of a community than us, but they kind of have a larger reach of surrounding communities there just because they are kind of farther away from everything else. And they actually made a profit of $30,000 approximately, I believe was the number. And Owen was shocked by that. And he said, I hope that Neepawa can make that, because he was looking at their attendance numbers specifically, and the attendance numbers per week, per game, home game for Swan Valley seemed a little bit lower in comparison to Neepawa. So he was hoping that that was a sign that Neepawa would make a good chunk of money. But there are lots of other expenses to consider and a lot of other things that do cost money that I guess Neepawa maybe spent more on or didn't make as much in other fundraising aspects and that kind of a thing. So yeah, they did not make a profit of $30,000, unfortunately.
No, unfortunately. I know they made a bit of a profit in a previous year, but sort of, there wasn't anything going on. So it was awesome they made a profit, but there's also just
But yeah, it was the pandemic
happening.
year, so they had no costs because they didn't even have a season. They just had some sponsorship money come in and they had no output really. They had some, I think, probably, but not a lot. So they did make some money that year, but it's unfortunate that the only way they seem to be able to make money is by not playing hockey.
Yeah, it's tough, just all the expenses the team has to take care of, just in terms of coaching or whatever, and I imagine billets too, and just sort of the general stuff there. And then of course I imagine they pay some sort of rent or fee for usage of the rink probably.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm sort of curious what differences there are that the Neepawa team specifically isn't doing too well. Maybe Owen would have some good ideas on that. Potentially could even talk about them in the future, because I imagine he'll have a lot more stories coming down for that at one point or another. Unfortunately, we don't have much time left, so we'll have to wrap things up, but there is a lot more in the paper this week. A small paper, 16 pages, but still a lot of good stuff in there, so be sure to pick up a hard copy if you're able, or check us out on our website, www.mywestman.com. I believe that was the website, right?
Yes.
I always remember it when I write it down in the paper for a little filler, but sometimes when I think of it off the top of my head, I'm like, wait, hold on.
Wait,
is that the right one, or is that a different website? Anyway, thank you for joining us on the show. If you would like to get in contact with us to give a story tip, photos, anything like that, you can reach us at news@neepawabanner.com. Call us at 204-476-3401 or get in touch with ads at neepawabanner.com to book an ad with us. Thank you again for coming, and we'll see you next week.